And we are live. Here we go. Coming to you live, it's the Auto Hub Show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else.
Is it just me with the audio, or does everyone have the audio?
Invest thousands and millions. We're definitely the social selling company for you.
Should be fun.
Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
I was at Larry Coleman's seminar. So happy I came, having such a good time. Thank you so much, Larry.
One of the best trainers in this area for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but as far as I know, he's the best. So, told you twice, take advantage. Thank you for having me here.
I'm at Larry Feldman's seminar, and what I've found is that what he's really good at doing with his knowledge and with his training, he's not filling a bucket, he's lighting a fire.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money you spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon, and then the time to line are the most important thing to do. I'm Mike Burrell, and Service Director at JM Lexus.
And good morning. So here we go with a few books. There's not a lot of lead books other than, how to generate leads yourself pretty much. But beyond pay-per-click, lead generation, and how to generate leads using LinkedIn were 3 that I found. So worth a read anyway. Jeff, go ahead with our disclaimer.
Well, good morning, everybody. Said this is the Leads or No Leads show. That is the question. And before we get started, of course, we need a little disclaimer because the views and opinions shared today of that are guests and not necessarily that of the Never Jeff Polo or the Auto Hub show. Although as long as we keep Larry on mute, then it's generally not controversial.
So the show this morning is all, thanks, Jeff. The show this morning is all about leads or no leads, and that's the question. So we're going to go ahead and go into it. So go ahead, Mr. Jeff. I'm just moving everybody over.
We're going to introduce our guests. A very interesting day today. We had some great friends of the show lined up. Our very good friend Wendy Reeves of BBC Angels and Fred Thorne. And Wendy's turned a little bit ill, and Wendy, we wish you nothing but the best. But she recommended 2 fantastic people to join us that are new to the show, which is Martha. I'm sorry, I lost your conversation here on it. How I pronounce your last name, Martha?
Alvarado.
Alvarado. I didn't want to say Alvarado because that's not right. And of course, Courtney Pashal, who are new to the show. So thank you so much for being last minute. Thank you for joining us. We're actually very excited because the 2 of you have a very, very deep ties to leads. And so Martha, I'll get you introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your business, and answer this first question, please, which is, what's the big deal about buying leads when what percentage of leads are not followed up on?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, my name is Martha Alvarado. I'm the BDC director at Wondries Toyota. Being a BDC manager director for the last 23 years. And I love the industry, work mostly with Toyota. And the question, why not buying leads? A lot of the time is because of the fear of like we may not get the best out of our money, okay? And that will be backed up by maybe you know that you don't have a strong follow-up process, okay? Or you have too many leads and not enough resources. So that's sometimes the things that it may prevent you from continuing on buying leads. And also other times, not knowing exactly what is it that your store is looking for. So, you know, you're not buying the correct leads.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us. Next, we have Courtney Pashal. I'm not sure if it's Pashal or Pashal joining us. Please introduce yourself. And again, the question, what's the big deal about buying leads? But when 50% of the leads aren't followed up on. Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Pashal, and I work at Street Toyota here in Amarillo, Texas. And I'm the BDC manager. I've been the BDC manager for about 2 years. I was the assistant manager for about 6 years. And I've been in the car industry for 10 years. And I love it. I've only been here at the dealership at Street Toyota, so I've only been Toyota. I would agree with Martha. You know, we have all of these third-party providers, but we need to make sure that our money that we're paying for is the correct leads. For instance, like this morning, we had a wave of leads that came in, but I bet you 10 of those leads were sponsorships. We're just asking a question about service. Those aren't real leads. So why should I have to pay for those leads when they're not real?
Yeah, that's for darn sure. It's such an interesting conversation that we have in this business. We buy leads, some aren't real, many of them aren't followed up on. And we know at the BDC level, they're always followed up on. It's when they drill down to the fine people that are the face of the dealership that maybe they fall apart. Ian.
Yeah, you're heavily invested, obviously, in the topic, and you preach the benefits and consequences. How's the culture changed over the years? I mean, I remember, I'm dating myself a little bit, 23 years ago, I know the industry average was about a 2-day follow-up window for leads. Now, obviously, that's not acceptable, but what I still hear in the industry all the time is that some leads are still never followed up with. What do you think is that, ideal response time in terms of it being an awesome way to do it? I mean, what do you think? Let's start with Martha.
So, the faster response is not the best response, okay? But also you don't want to be slow. I will say that less than 10 minutes is good as long as you're reading the lead. As long as you're paying attention where the lead is coming from and getting educated on every lead. I always talk about the metaverse. I have mentioned kind of some of the metaverse before. Okay, I tell my sales representatives, you have to understand that the customer is on the virtual right now showroom where you're going to have a lot of other dealerships coming up there. So you want to be fast.
Right. Let's go ahead with Courtney. What do you think, speed-wise?
I think speed-wise, anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes should be for the lead should be answered. However, more importantly, I feel like as long as you answer their question, if a customer has questions in their response, they have to be answered, whether that be the best price, pictures. If we can't get that information, then we need to say, I don't have that information. These are the questions that you're wanting. Let me go ahead and get a sales representative to answer the best price question for you. That to me is way more important than, say it does go to 10 minutes, but it takes you 10 minutes to find out those answers. I feel like that's okay, as long as the questions get answered.
Yep, I agree with that. Jeff?
Well, it's funny. I actually, very good point there, Martha, too, that there is too quick. Sometimes you'll get people, and if a dealership doesn't have a BDC that handles the leads, but is a sort of an outgoing BDC, the salespeople, jump on it. They do a round robin, they throw it out there. Somebody grabs it and says, "Yes, we do have that blue one. When do you want to come in?" So it's definitely a fast response is definitely not good, but we do find that many places are celebrating a 45-minute response to a customer. And I've always experienced people that take that long. In my opinion, the customer's already contacted 5 or 6 other people, and you get the response by, which one is this one? I don't remember. So, it's funny because as I put in the questionnaire, I'm the king of innuendos. I love making jokes. I'm kind of fun, and I'm a big Princess Bride movie fan. And so I've been on that reference track lately. So there's a statement in the movie, the most famous statement. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie, but one of the stars was Inigo Montoya. And the whole movie, he searched out this guy that said, my name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die. And it's this over and over. It came out in the 90s, but it's become a big thing. So fill in the blanks there. And you don't have to say this as yourself, but my name is blank. You ignore my leads, prepare to blank. And seriously, what is it with this thing? Because we live and die by leads. We talk about this. We go to these conventions, NADA, digital dealer, etc. There's all these places. We give you leads, etc. CDK is built on leads. Cox is built on leads, even though they have other stuff. But then, what's going on? You're ignoring leads. So, Courtney, I'll go back to you. Even though it's a long-winded question I gave you, it probably makes no sense. But, what happens if you ignore the leads?
Then the customer doesn't get taken care of. If you ignore that lead and you ignore the questions, we don't get a sale. We don't earn that customer's trust. We don't earn that customer's business. If we don't answer their questions and contact them or get them taken care of, then they're going to go somewhere else. All the time. They're going to go next door. They're going to drive to a different town. And they're going to get what they want because that dealership is going to answer their questions and contact them.
Yeah, and it's funny, the customer doesn't get taken care of. Do you really think, or what degree of people really care about the customer versus like that the fellow in the opening video that said, oh yeah, I'm not here for the money, I'm just here for the joy of things. Is it really about the customer, or is it about us getting business?
I think that depends on who it is. For me and my BDC, it's about getting that customer and getting them in for the sales representative. But I think that there are people out there that it is all about the sale, and let's move on, let's get to the next. But we need to get the customer in, we need to get the customer taken care of, because if they have a great experience with us, they're gonna buy parts, they're gonna come in for service, they're gonna buy again. Not only that, they're gonna tell everybody else that they know, plus go on to social media and say, hey, this is how I was treated. This is amazing. You guys need to go here for all of your needs. And that's what we want.
Or they go the other way and go on social media and say, these people suck.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just people all day long. You could have 10 great reviews, but you have one bad one, and that's all people see.
Yeah, well, that's for darn sure. We love negativity. It's there's I can't remember what the stats are, but they say that you saw like 80% of people will pass on bad will, and only 10-20% will pass on goodwill. Very interesting. Martha, what's your position on ignoring leads?
Well, if you ignore leads, like Courtney said, you're going to lose the customer. You're going to lose their trust. The main purpose of following up with a lead, I always tell my team, is to connect. Okay, we want to go after the appointment. You cannot go after that appointment if you don't connect with them. And you're going to connect once that you have earned their trust. Okay, but if you don't follow up, sometimes you may be able to connect right away because you were following up, you got the lead and you responded in less than 10 minutes and you answered the question, but then you don't follow up. We got to be realistic. You're not always going to get 100% of the times the appointment on the first shot. So you need to continue to follow it up. So ignoring the lead, it's just not going to take you there, not to develop that relationship. And at the end, also, it's going to lead you to have results that you don't want. When you may think, okay, well, this third-party leads are not good. Is it that the lead is not really good, or is it that you weren't following up and ignoring the lead? Okay, so it is very important. And the answer to your question, if you ignore my lead, well, I will hunt you for 90 days because to me, 90 days is it's a time where you will get something. You will definitely, if you don't get them on the first 2 weeks, then you will get them, probably after 45 days because that's the cycle, the buying cycle.
You brought up a really interesting point, in a lot of cases, the initial lead gets ignored for whatever reason. And the CRM sends out the follow-up, and the BDC follows up and say, how was your experience? Or, are you still interested or whatever? And the customer goes, who are you? I'm going to ask your opinion there, right, Tim? Peter, I'm going to ask your opinion there because you're not in the dealership side of things, and I see you're driving and
Okay.
watching your car bouncing.
Sorry, I just wanted to respond to something that was said, and then I got to mute again. Last 2 weeks ago, I was contracted to do a mystery shop with the Toyota dealership in the Toronto area, which is the third largest metropolitan area in all of North America. In doing so, I submitted 2 leads, one by myself and one by my wife. So you have male and female perspective to see if there was any difference between the two sexes. So I know that shouldn't be the case, but I wanted to see. Well, in doing so, the lead was responded automatically by automation, and then it took 2.5 days for my lead to be responded to, and 3.5 days for my wife's lead to be responded to. The funny thing about that was the dealer principal, through automation, sent me a lead or a response prior to being responded to, saying, how was my lead response? Was it up to, get all your questions answered? So even with automation, it doesn't work properly if we're not on top of things. And that would have been a wasted lead because if I was really interested, I would have just said, these guys are so backwards and unorganized, I don't want to deal with them. So we got to be really cognizant of what we're doing and handling those leads immediately within minutes, at the worst, an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the minimum today for most OEMs, and you obviously can correct me if I'm wrong, Martha or Courtney, and I know Toyota's probably set a very high bar there, but I believe from what I hear from dealers and what I hear from the OEMs, granted the OEMs are a little more whisper quiet, but I would say that that's the minimum is probably 30 minutes or less. Am I correct?
Yes, that would be probably what they expect.
And are you always obviously you're searching for that, but are they constantly monitoring that? Are you getting any feedback from the OEMs on that?
Yeah, they do have a digital tool where we are able to see what is the percentage of response that we have in contact, the time and the contact percentage as well. I've been going in like a 7 to 8 minutes, probably for the last year. And like probably like 98%. I'm at the store right now where we have a very high contact ratio. So we're lucky that way. We don't have much inventory, so that's what is hurting. So it's going to change for every dealership, it's depending, but you want to make sure that you contact every single person. And when they were saying that they didn't get contacted like 3 days, it also has to do a lot with not just the process, but accountability. I mean, you cannot have a process if you don't hold people accountable.
Right. Courtney, what do you think?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I throw something in
Yeah.
real quick? Martha, I owned a dealership and we had a BDC, and I'm now relegated to the lowly trainer and recruiter position. I get all the scorn. When I train people, I say, if you want to be successful, the average cost today to bring somebody into a dealership is $500. If you acted like that money was coming out of your pocket, nobody would ever get room. You had to put a cash deposit down. You wouldn't roll your eyes. You wouldn't ignore them. You wouldn't walk down to them. So if we can somehow, and trust me, I know it's not easy from my experience, if we can convince these people how it behooves them that, that they're running their business within somebody else's, and how quick. And I think one of the ways to do it, Martha, just a thought, is to let them look in the mirror. Because as a human race, we've grown so unbelievably impatient. I'm talking to you and Courtney. If you're running BDCs, it means you're really good with computers and dealing with people. So think how frustrated you two get when you got to do something and the owner hollers at you and you're trying to get your computer on and it's slow to load. In 15 seconds, I get frazzled. So if we can make them understand, forget the days. Act like you're an EMS agent, and then if you don't get to them quickly, the patient's going to die. Because I think we've gotten, and it's not you two are excellent, it's that we've gotten so lax in our whole concept of what response time is. Response time should be instant. These two wild Canadians love to make fun of me because I answer my phone all the time, and if I'm on a plane or training, I hire the assistant to answer my phone. It should be instantaneous. Because he asked you earlier, what happens if you don't take care of the customers? The customers don't take care of you and they don't buy a car from you, and neither do their friends or relatives. Because Jeff's right, they get on there and they hammer. They may not say something nice, but they can't wait to tell people in Asia what a creep you are. That's it. Nice to meet you in Upward.
Courtney, what do you think? Thanks, Larry.
Well, I think one, we've had to change our whole process for everything, and that continues. So something that we're saying today, I'm going to have to change what I say in 30 days. But you always constantly have to change what you're saying to who. So and just like Martha, with Toyota, I have my GST reps come in, we sit down, we look at everything. But I also have all of that in my CRM. We use DriveCentric. So I have all of that calculated, our response time, and our response time a few months ago was 7 to 8 minutes. And, it was like, why is it that late? Why is it that late? And I was like, man, that is kind of late. It needs to be under 5 minutes. But then I went through every single one of our leads and I looked, and the customers were asking specific questions. Right now, Martha, I don't know how your new inventory is, but ours is not new. Everything is pre-sold before they come in. So we have to jump into our pipeline and we have to look and see what do we have available and then cross-match it to see what we have available. Sometimes that takes time, especially when you're trying to get in and it kicks you out and you have to log in. So I have to take all of that into consideration as well. And, and one thing that really irks me is the fact that sometimes my agents will call and the customer will say, oh, that's not me, you have the wrong number. And then they turn around and they're like, hey, this is a bad lead. They gave us the wrong number. I'm like, no, you're going to call them again tomorrow. You're going to call, text, and email them, and then ask for that person again. If they tell you that it's the wrong number, okay. But just the first one, I'm sure that they were being bombarded by so many other dealerships that they just don't want to talk to you.
Well, they may also be forgetting.
Why don't you try calling your rep and see how long it takes them to answer? Maybe we should put them on the phone. What do you think?
It's also possible that, and this is something I think people don't think about, but let's just say that customer, whether it be 2 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon or 10 in the morning, puts a lead into, like Peter did, to 4 or 5 different stores. They may not remember which store they put that lead in for, even what brand or vehicle that was. So part of it, I think, to your point is, maybe it's the wrong information, but you don't know because you're not sure what they don't remember which store, for example. They may not be that organized. Not everyone's using a spreadsheet to do that. They send in a couple leads and they're waiting for a response, right? So, and I'd be curious to hear from you. I mean, obviously you say you're constantly evolving your process. What would you say is the big change over the last couple of years in process? I mean, we were obviously going to talk about best in class process, but what would you say is the change that you're seeing?
The change that we're seeing is before it was, hey, this vehicle's available. How soon today can you come in? If today is not convenient, how about tomorrow? Okay, well, this vehicle is not here. So we had to quit asking Are you available to come in today? Now we've changed it to the vehicle will be coming in approximately this date. Would you like to place a deposit on it to hold it? Is there any information that I could send over to you on it? Instead of specifically just saying, hey, this vehicle's available, come in. Well, what's gonna happen is I just lied to that customer's gonna drive here and that vehicle's not here. It's gonna be here in 3 weeks from now. He's gonna get mad because now he's gonna feel like we just baited and switched him.
Right.
And that's never good.
Yeah.
That's never good.
What kind of used inventory do you have available for
We have a good percentage of used inventory going on. So we always want to ask them is, hey, are you specifically looking for this 23 RAV4 or are you open to other options? Because then I need to know that if I can send you our used RAV4 inventory or whatever you're maybe looking for. Maybe you were just specifically looking for that specific model, but since you put in the lead from last night, maybe you've decided to change. You've done a little bit more research and realized that that RAV4 isn't going to fit your whole family. Maybe you need to look at something else.
Because, 3 out of 4 people still come in for one thing and leave with something else, even when we have inventory. That, so you're 100% right. You can't lie to them. But there's never anything wrong with saying, listen, we're going to do a diligent hunt to find the vehicle you want to get it here as quickly as possible. You may also be interested. We have a great selection of vehicles that are pre-owned, some of them with very low mileage. Maybe we can find something. Plus, it'd be really nice to say hello to you. Make it human and make it honest. That's
Absolutely.
Martha, what do you think on the process and best process and change?
For me?
No, I was going to ask Martha the same question.
Okay.
Thanks, Courtney.
I agree with Courtney. We have to adapt. Things have been different. Since the pandemic, when we hit, we had to change our process, right? And now that there is no inventory, but it's also going to be very different depending on the brand, okay, and depending on the location. And this is the problem when sometimes we get into these conversations that we think that our follow-up process is going to be the same everywhere, and it kind of sometimes will be, but like adding to what Courtney was saying, and answering Larry, for example, I'm in a market where hybrids are on a very high demand. I probably get, I will say 60 to 70% of my inquiries for hybrid vehicles. And I'm getting very low inventory. I get 1 Prius a month, maybe 2, 3 RAV4 hybrids a month. So the amount of leads that we have now, it's on the holding position. We have different buckets, where Courtney was saying, okay, are you open to something, so a pre-owned vehicle? I don't have a pre-owned RAV4 hybrid, and that's what they want sometimes. So you have to, the follow-up is very important because now you put them on a waiting position. Now you have to continue following up. But because we know that some of the dealerships may never reach out to them again, what you wanted is to stay right on top of them and trying to see, hey, how is your research going? Did you find the car or not? So process have to adjust. We adjust them sometimes every week. Okay, sometimes we don't have anything incoming. In our region, a lot of dealerships are not putting deposits. We are pre-contract vehicles, ones that they have a big number. We do not take deposits. Now, if you take deposit, it's completely a different sort or direction that you're going to go to. So it's adapting and pivoting depending on the circumstances. And the inventory is very challenging. So I will say that you have to really see what do you have, what are you selling, what you have coming in. And that's another reason why, in our case, we cancel a lot of third-party leads because we get in the leads, but we don't have enough cars to sell them.
Right.
So there's no point of getting thousands of them when, there is no inventory available.
Well, you and Courtney seem really experienced, which is great. Both of you know that you got to have a little bit of experience with this because you do not have an easy job. I can remember my salesperson right before I punched him in the mouth coming to me and saying, "Why did they bring this guy?" And then we wound up making $5,000. Salespeople make you want to strangle. Do you have a buying center? Do you have something that leans in the direction of trying to find cars? Because here's the cool thing.
if you've sold a lot of Priuses or hybrids, then that might mean there's a lot of customers that have them, and who knows, maybe you get creative there.
In our region, we do have right now a dedicated BDC point after our service customer. We haven't opened up a buying center at a prior dealership where I was at. I did open a buying center and they're doing really good right now with those processes. But in our region, a lot of customers don't want to sell their cars because they don't know there's nothing new that they can get into.
Right.
So that's the challenge that we're facing. You know, some of them, they see that they may have equity on their car and they get happy, but when they see that there's no inventory or the type of payment that they can get into a new car, you have to remember these customers are, even a leasing customer coming on we had rates at 1.9 3 years ago, and right now we're like here, like almost a 7.9. So
Yeah, gives new meaning to sticker shock. The payments are crazy.
And what region are you in, Martha?
Los Angeles?
Oh, yeah, Los Angeles, yeah.
Well, I think what you should be doing, you know, I know in Courtney's neck of the woods, they get somebody that calls in on a Prius, and he said, I don't have a Prius, but let me show you this Chevy one-ton pickup. The chances of do a little swap around. Mention here that, Kim, if you don't mind, I'll reach out to you and just ask for some analytics here on response times of greater than 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter the industry, right? You could be selling hot dogs, hamburgers, solar panels, or Priuses, right? Pre-I.
Pre-I.
If I'm in a jam, if the box was broken when it landed on my front doorstep, or when my check engine light comes on, if you're not calling me back immediately, and even better, letting me tell you when I'm available to take the car by, not when X time or something else tells you a bay is available to offer it to me. You know, that's where we are. And I think, you know, just what Martha was saying a second ago, you know, interest rates are doing this with housing and cars right now. People are going to hang on to their vehicles a little bit longer. And this brings us back to data. I think where Peter was wanting me to take this is you're sitting from a first party data standpoint. You've got, I'm looking behind Courtney, you know, there's probably 500 manila folders with customer files in those cabinets behind her. That's data, right? These are former customers, these are existing customers. And this is where this whole new field of systems integration, CDP, is this one-to-one sales model that folks like A to Z are trying to automate. This is where we're going, right? It's just to say, listen, when I hear everybody talk here about the jam that we're in, and we're talking about inventory specifically, we're still wrapped up in the top of the funnel. We're still wrapped up in just converting people that just showed a little bit of interest or actually came to us, instead of digging deep and saying, hey, how are we establishing relationships? And I'll point to Larry. This is what it's about. It's a bygone and foregone practice of the dealership business to basically have a relationship with a customer, to think about lifetime value, things like that, right? So if we think about that and maybe could unpack that for a different show, that's where you're going to uncover someone who's right time, right place to probably say, hey, listen, I wasn't looking for a car, but now I am, and basically you want their car to put it back in inventory. Or, you know, there's so much more that you can do with that in terms of being much better timed with the relationship, not just when a system is telling you someone was on the website or someone filled out a form.
Hey, Martha and Courtney, do you guys both have, there's certain states that do not allow referral fees or burglars. Like in Virginia and Ohio, you can't write somebody a check if they send somebody in. Can I assume that in Texas and Los Angeles, that if I send a customer to you, you could send me a referral fee?
Not Los Angeles.
Courtney's not. You can't do it in Los Angeles?
No.
I'm shocked because you're such an easy regulation state. It's just shocking.
All regulations.
She's still suffering from Gavin Newsom burnout. Sam, Courtney, if somebody sends somebody into you, I'm sure your owners gladly write them a check, flip it around. Make it clear to the salespeople that if they can find anybody to recommend somebody that wants to sell their car, there's a referral fee in that. You know, unfortunately, the whole industry is in between a rock and a hard place. But the only thing we can attempt to do is try to dig our way out. Because you know, and again, I feel comfortable saying it to you because the two of you look smart as hell. And I run into so many dumb managers in different capacities. So something tells me maybe within the system, maybe behind the system, you might have to get creative because don't get inflated egos, but I've seen a lot of BDC managers that were more pragmatic and made more sense than general managers. Because they had the finger on the pulse. You know what? You're up there trying to beg somebody to come in and twist the salesman's arm while the manager's at lunch comes back with lettuce in his teeth and says, well, can we get me leads? Does that sound familiar, Mark?
It does. So, you know, touching also on the analytics and what you're saying, I'm pretty sure there are some ways, you know, to go around about all of that. And some dealerships, you know, may do it, or I have seen some doing it. It's not something that you really advertise or anything like that here, especially. But going back to touching up on the analytics and the connecting, and you know, this is my point. You know, right now, in the last 23 years and before the pandemic, I was leading a BDC team that used to get 1,800 leads a month. Okay, but the contact rate in the first day, it was probably on the 30-40%. Right now, I'm seeing a contact rate of like almost 80% on the first day. Almost 80% of customers that we got a lead on, you know, they answer the phone. They're waiting for you to call them because they're waiting and they're trying for you to have the good news. Yes, I do have that car that you're looking for. So when you are there on the time, you know, 7 to 8 minutes, you are sending them, you know, the information that you have on them. And they're willing, because if you ask them the correct way, because now they're telling you, yes, I want you to follow up with me. I want you to keep me posted. I want you to let me know. So this is a crucial time where dealerships really have to tie up on the follow-up process, because that's where you lose them. Because these cars, like Courtney said, they're not arriving right away. They're arriving like 3, 4, 5 weeks, especially if you have holders with deposit or customers that we have on the waiting list. You need to stay in touch with them. And I can tell my sales reps, we have a hybrid BDC, okay? You know, so on our dealership, it's hybrid. And what also somebody else was saying, it's also built-in ownership. You have to know what you're losing, okay, if you don't follow up with this customer. So when you put them on that position and you get that engraved in their head and their culture, then your follow-up process is actually going to work. Because you may have to follow up, you may hold them accountable, but if you don't develop that ownership culture inside of them and their mind, they're not going to do it. But it's very important, I think, right now, deciding what type of leads to buy, but making sure that the follow-up process is there, because they're going to buy 2-3 months down the road, 4 or 5 months down the road.
And you mentioned about bending some of the rules. Tim and I will send our information. We also do a podcast from a local prison. We'll show you how to get around all the rules. Tim has a great lawyer, so don't worry.
I know a guy. The rules.
It's called How to Fool the Bulls.
And just so everyone knows, we have Joel on the call today. He's the founder of VidCalls. VidCalls is a sponsor of the show, but they're also offering a free 2-month trial. So if anyone's interested, reach out to the show. Happy to connect you with that. And Joel's on the bottom there on video. So go ahead, Courtney. Maybe you can answer the same question.
Let's see if I can remember all the questions.
Refresh. It was break every rule in the book. Blame Tim. He's from Texas too. It's okay. He knows all the sheriffs. And get everybody's butt in gear, because the only people paying attention is the BDC. Did I have that right, Mark?
You got it right.
So I will say, let me start off with the bird dog fee. So the dealership actually doesn't pay for the bird dog. The sales representative pays for the bird dog fee. So that comes out of the salesman's check. And that depends on the salesman. Are they going to pay $25, $50, or $100? So that is up to them. However, the only way that you get a bird dog fee is you have to purchase from us. You can't just not purchase from us and then send somebody our way and then they purchase. So we do get a lot of people that will come in and say, hey, I worked with so-and-so, but I referred somebody and they purchased, so I need my $100. And it doesn't work like that. So we have to educate the customers. And that's all that I feel like that's what our job is to educate the customers. Because
I have to, you reminded me of something in my Toyota days. Vancouver is a very diverse market with people from all backgrounds. And you wouldn't believe how many people after the deal's done would walk into my office and say, listen, I referred myself, can I get $100, please?
Yeah. By the way, Courtney, I don't mean any disrespect to the fine people that own your dealership. And I am the rascal of the show, so if I don't say something controversial, you'll be disappointed. That is absolutely flat out stupidest policy on earth. And let me explain to you why. When I used to own my dealership, like everybody that owns any business that advertises, you know half your advertising is wasted. You just don't know which half, and it drives people crazy. A bird dog is only paid when a deal is consummated. It'd be like if you said, I'm giving you $500 when I get 500 deals. So, I mean, I know you can't do anything because you'll do whatever possible to make a deal. You and Martha are ahead of the game. I love you. But it's always, when I ever hear people grapple and make it on the salesperson, you're only paying after the deal's consummated. But I guess that's nothing you can do anything about. It's a shame because you really look like you're cooperative in your heads. I just feel very strongly about that because my whole business was built on repeat referral, and to this day it still is. So it's just a shame there. I'm sorry. Keep fighting that good fight.
We had a couple of comments from LinkedIn from a gentleman called Hagtop Makosian. I guess he's in the Los Angeles market. He says, I used to be a fleet manager and I broker cars. The problem is not the inventory. It's a dealership trying to take advantage of so-called shortage, especially in Los Angeles, not to beat Los Angeles up. But the other question he had, or the comment, was 70% of leads are fake and unverified, and that's another problem. So I thought those were kind of interesting. But go ahead, Jeff. Thanks, Larry.
The thing is, though, and I love the comment, I appreciate the comment, is there is only one way to find out if a lead is fake. And that, of course, is coming to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I don't know how many times in my career that I said, I remember punishing a salesperson years and years ago because he used the old Star Trek, there I am referring to TV shows, the Star Trek scanner on the other end of the lot of that person had money. But it's very true. But
Jeff, just one thing here. I know this is a lead show, and one of the things that we keep hearing is leads. Are they not opportunities, not leads? Like lead is almost a derogatory term, where opportunity is a positive response to an opportunity that someone's going to purchase something at the dealership.
Tremendous point. I used to operate on an OTDB system, which was an opportunity to do business. And
Absolutely.
When we ignore that, and I mean, leads are a very interesting term. Of course, that's why we came up. That's why this show is it's coming out. There's a lead, and the customer says they send in a lead because they want to find out about that Prius. And Martha, of course, you guys can certainly relate that. Vancouver's very similar to LA with that type of market, and many people just don't get back to why you don't have a Prius. Of course, then you actually reach out to somebody and they say, well, I just saw the car, it looked really cool, I just want a really sporty sedan. So it's very interesting. It should be an opportunity, I agree. So
there's one thing that I do want to say that I had to change. So we're talking about leads. So with all of my providers, I contacted them 6 months ago, and because we are only selling new vehicles within a 120-mile radius. So with that, I'm not going to sell a brand new vehicle to California, to Florida, somewhere else, because I'm never going to see them again. I'm not going to get any repeats. I'm not going to get their service. I'm not going to get their parts. So we're keeping it within a 120-mile radius. Now, with that is I contacted, because we were still getting leads from all over with my third-party providers. So I contacted them and I said, can you adjust our radius? I had 2 of them that told me no. I said, okay, cancel. I'll send them my 30-day notice. Oh, no, wait. We can do that. We can do that. So I said, all these leads are on my website that says deal pending. So on our website, on our new vehicles, customers know that there is a deal pending on our new inventory that's coming in. And, the amount of leads have changed tremendously from putting the 120-mile radius on our new vehicles with my third-party providers.
Wow.
It's very funny how a dealership suddenly learns what it's like to be a customer and told no. It's wonderful when somebody calls up and says, I want the new 2024 Prius, and they're told, can't have it. And in your case, you went back and they said, I want to limit my lease. And they said, no. I'm shocked. I find that hilarious.
What was the reasoning, out of curiosity, as to why?
They said that they couldn't do it. They couldn't put a radius on it. So I was like, okay, I'll find somebody else who can. I'm putting in my 30-day cancellation notice. And within a matter of probably 30 minutes, they emailed me back and were like, oh, never mind, we can do that. I bet you can.
They emailed you back. They didn't pick up the phone. Your rep didn't say, oh my God, I'm going to lose a client. I'll pick up the phone and call you. They emailed you. And by the way, I just want you to know that their IT people have algorithms like you wouldn't believe. By the way, you will learn as you watch the show. I love the word algorithms. Their IT people and their coders went, we'll create that right now just for you, Courtney.
So do you also find that, Martha? Like when you buy leads, do you find also that they're out of market? I mean, we had a dealer on multiple times from New Jersey who happens on a Cadillac franchise. And yeah, he's very specific about who he'll sell a vehicle to because of not only availability, but also he wants to keep people within his market, right? So
we have a dealership every probably 5 miles here in LA.
Yeah, there's a few.
And when I was hearing Courtney saying that, because usually over here with your vendors, third-party providers, you set up parameters because you want to make sure that you're selling to your PMA, that you're targeting more to your PMA. But no, we do get leads from, we have actually expanded the distance. We want to get more people from farther away because, right now people is going here, they wouldn't even drive sometimes 15 miles. And, oh, no, you're too far. They want you to be in their backyard. Like, oh, no, that's across the street. I don't want to cross the street. So, but we have seen though here dealerships that also they won't sell out of their PMA. So not even 100 miles. They won't sell on a radio that is more than outside of their PMA. They tell customers. So we have all of those customers calling us. They ask like, you know what? That dealership has the car and it has the price, but they won't sell it to me because I'm not in their area. So we haven't caught ourselves with that opportunity. We're selling to customers, that are in a lot of cities, that before probably they wouldn't come to us, but we're not going anywhere that far. It's too many of us, It's too many of us.
It's funny how you say that some people won't cross the street. And this is LA where they'll drive 3 hours each way to go to work in traffic.
It's because the 3 hours is only a 50-mile.
Yeah, what does my brother say who lives in Los Angeles? He says it's not about distance, it's about time.
You tell them how many miles. You tell them how long it will take you depending on the time of the day.
Yeah.
But
parking lot.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but it's surprising that they're telling that to Courtney when over here we do set up parameters. So I don't want leads, from 40 miles away from us.
So I have a bonus question, and I'm going to throw this to you. I'm gonna preface it with, you know, in the old days, when lot traffic was king, and we lived and died by us, and salespeople would stand in the hot climates like where you were in LA, well, hot except for the last 2 months. They would stand inside the air-conditioned showroom, or of course, that great TV show from Vegas in the 90s, whatever it was called, King of Cars. They would stand outside waiting for the ups. The ups meant everything. These days, leads need everything. And I'm going to ask you just this question. Why or why not are we not paying attention, more attention and put more value on leads? And those leads can come in the front door, they can come in digitally, they can come in the phone, they can come in walk-in. Because from what I understand now, especially, nobody's that busy where they can't afford more business. So Martha, I see you looking at me, so go for it.
Well, again, we go back to culture. You know, we got back to like, what do you let your sales teams know that it's your goal about? You know, like I have a hybrid, so on our dealership, our sales reps are sitting right there waiting for those leads because they know that that is an opportunity. And they're gonna do their follow-up. They already know it's in there, and we don't really need to like ask them about that. But then there is the other point where I can see they also wanted to go on the point because we, you know, in my area, we are getting the leads. We're contacting the dealerships, but we don't have the cars sometimes, so we don't have the inventory. So we see now that these customers that are coming, okay, to the dealership, once that we have them there, you know, sometimes, yes, it's a higher opportunity, like Gary was saying, you want to show them, so they're going to leave with something that they don't want to turn it into, you know, the inventory that you have, like a used car, because a lot of these customers that are putting leads are very specific. You see, like, you don't see that much of a customer walking up and down and just going to the dealership. Oh, you know what, I'm driving by here, I saw that Corolla, let me see what it is this about. No. Customers are usually driving because they really like, okay, I saw something, let me just drive it. I mean, like, I saw this Corolla, let me take a look because you show that you have the vehicle on inventory. So they want the app because the app right now have a higher closing ratio, okay, but it's changing. I'm telling you, from December to February, we have seen an increase on closing ratio on internet leads. So now it's going back to what it used to be. We see more shoppers, we see more customers asking for quotes, when before they were not asking that. The first thing that was said, do you have the car? What else do you have? I need a car. So on our dealership, you know, again, it's culture. They are sitting right there by the computer, and I tell it, it's a virtual showroom. You gotta go right before all the salespeople going to now lead, and they love it. They you know, they bid us like, we don't really need our BDC to jump on the leads because our salesperson are right there between 5 minutes or less. A lead is sitting for 5 minutes and we grab that. Why did you take my lead?
Question there, totally semi-serious. 2 weeks ago, how much did your leads change asking for 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicles when LA got the snow?
You know what? No, we really didn't see, you know, an increase because we know that rain is something that we were grateful for the rain, right? We got a lot of customers asking for a car because there was a lot of people that got into accidents. That I can tell you, you know, and kind of like sad. It's like, well, you know, I have to look for something. So we did that a little bit. You know, we have a great President's Day weekend, you know. So.
I can only imagine. So Courtney, I'm going to ask you the same question, but before that, tell me how active is your market on hybrids? Because I have a business opportunity.
It's very, we're getting there. We are getting there. Especially, I mean, if you've never been here, we are truck country. And so since the Tundra came out with a hybrid, it's very diverse here. Let me see how everything, how it is first. And so there's customers that just want to come in and test drive it. Not very many Priuses are sold here. We still get them, we still have some buyers, but not that many.
Okay, so we talked about bird dogs a little bit earlier. So Martha and Courtney, please contact the appropriate people in your dealerships. And I suggest you guys get a trading pipeline where you give them a Tundra for 3 Priuses or pay Jeff $100 per car. So we'll just I'm just kidding. But, you know, this is something that happens here a lot because Vancouver's like LA, a very huge EV and hybrid market, and the city of Vancouver, not so much trucks. And then you get inland from here, Calgary's like Denver, like Dallas, etc., where trucks are king. And there are dealers here that are actually giving them pickups and getting allocation of hybrids there. So that's the suggestion. You just mentioned Auto Hub, sure, you don't have to send money. So Courtney, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Martha way back, which I forgot what it was, but it really is why are leads not, in general in the business, because I know in your place they're perfect, but why are they not more important? Because we live and die by them.
Well, I'm going to say this as nice as I can. Well, I've got some sales reps that just don't want to work for it. And they would rather be outside in the dirt, in the heat, in the cold, because that's a customer right in front of them. And they don't have to do any of the work. They don't have to text the customer, call the customer. They don't have to email the customer. They don't have to send pictures. They don't have to do the work. They just open the vehicle, go on the test drive, and bring them in. That's too easy. And that's where we're at, and that's where I fight. I have salesmen that say, don't give me lead. I don't want to work them. Okay, that's fine. But then I turn around and I give somebody a lead, and they're like, oh, why did he get that good lead? He got that good lead. I want leads. You just told me.
The correct term is not salesman, it's subhuman moron.
Well, you know, it's funny. You talked about that. And if we ask 20 people in the car business, what is their, I don't mean lowest common denominator, but who's their favorite people to pick on? It's sales people. And Peter Smith and I had a long going thread, that conversation for, last week about the fact that, we didn't use the term chicken and the egg, but who's to blame? When salespeople say, I don't want to lead, who lets them, don't let them take leads, or I don't want to take lot traffic, who's allowing it? I agree. Don't force somebody that doesn't want to lead to take it, but don't reward them when they scoop the up that walks in the door and says, I talked to him yesterday. So that's true. We are getting late in the time. Just final comments, Courtney and Martha. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your input, and almost as much, because your information is tremendous and knowledgeable and stuff. But at the last minute, filling in for Friendy, I call Fred and Wendy Friendy, and just knocking it out of the park. Thank you. So, parting comments, Courtney.
Thank you. This has been wonderful. You know, Wendy, I am so sorry that you are sick. Praying for you. If you need anything, please reach out. I would love to send flowers on behalf of Brad, my husband, so I can get his credit card. Girl, you tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen. But this has been awesome. Martha, I just love you to death. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to share this with you, Courtney.
Thank you. I do have to say, I recognize the last name. Courtney didn't put the connection, but we love Brad. So say hi to him for us too.
Now we know the reason why Brad is the way he is. You know, he has an amazing
No, don't say that. No, I did not train him like that. I'm still working on training.
No, he's such a great guy. That's what I meant. That part that I'm referring, because he has such an amazing wife. You know, thank you so much for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. I'm like always grateful with Wendy, because you know what, she has such a big heart, always thinking about everybody else in this industry and helping us to grow. Great show. I love it. You know, the information. And we learn from each other. And the last thoughts, I feel like, yes, going back to your last question, because this thought came to me when you said why the salespersons don't want sometimes a lead. Sometimes they're afraid, like Courtney was saying. They're afraid because a lot of them, they don't really know how to email. They don't really know how to use some of the new technology. You know, so, and what you were saying too, like sometimes you don't want to push some of them to do it and you want to push some other ones, but even though you want to make sure that it's a fair game between everybody. But I think a lot of these new things that are happening are making some of the older ones, I mean, like the one that they're not too much tech savvy, a little bit afraid of how to deal and overcome. It's different. It's a different world how to overcome the objection via email or via text when you are not even talking to the person. How to say it, what to say it, what word to use, so the tone it's different, you know. So I think that may be some of the reasons why some salesperson may be like, okay, maybe I don't want the leads.
Yeah, not comfortable because they're used to talking to person to person, or they're just not comfortable with technology in general. And as I said earlier in the show, I mean, Joel's on the call, but if you want information on a free trial, just reach out to me or Jeff. Happy to set that up for you. It's very simple. Even non-complicated salesmen or BDC reps can get it. But thanks for being on the show last minute. We really appreciate it. Wendy and Fred, I hope you feel better. Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
We're going to sing for you next time, Joe. I want to thank our regulars on LinkedIn and YouTube, especially Peter, Tim, Larry, who pays to be here. No, just kidding. We appreciate you and your comments, because they're always like spot on. And thank you for stopping driving, Peter, because I was getting kind of sick to my stomach watching that.
I thought he was snowboarding or something.
In a Jeep. That's a commercial Jeep then.
Yes.
Thanks very much to everyone. Have yourself a great week. And of course, if there's anything we can do to help the Auto Hub Show, just reach out. Ian and Jeff at autohubshow.com. You can call us toll free at 877-804-3164, or you can use vid calls. It's on our website. Check it out. Have yourself a great day. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Excellent, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.